Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for the movie The VelociPastor. And I would not recommend watching this movie. Now granted, I am in between most things review-wise, and I'm like, oh, okay, this looks like it'd be a good bad movie. It is not. What I consider a good bad movie is like a bad movie that gets so funny that you can still get enjoyment out of it even though it makes no goddamn sense whatsoever. This started off with about one thing like that, and then it just went like, oh shit, because the acting, whew, there's a couple that are like fine, which granted, according to Wikipedia, this movie was made on a budget of like $35,000, so to get a couple of actors that actually are fine, like they wouldn't set the world on fire with their acting performances, but compared to everybody else that is like inside this group, whew, it's like goddamn, you're seeing some top tier stuff with them. But it just evolved into this insanity inducing, like, okay, I wasted like about 70 minutes of my time watching this. Because, like, one of the ones that can be, like, so bad it's good is, like, Kung Pao Enter the Fist. But I can't even really say that's one like that because it is intentionally made bad because it's a send-up of, like, kung fu movies and horrible dubbing and stuff like that going on. I'm going to have to review that one so you can understand more of why that is, like, the bar for, like, okay, that is a really good bad movie because that's its objective. This understands the insanity of what it is, but that doesn't stop it from making fucking strange choices. Like, this is written, directed, and like shot by like that is like one dude's job, and you could tell because in certain aspects the camera's focus, it's like doing this one thing and then goes off to like fade out, and I'm just like, you could just fade that shit, man. Like, okay, all right, okay. Let's delve into this insanity. So, we are introduced to Doug. They use priest, pastor, and father like so interchangeably, it's kind of freaking weird. There are differences involved in this, but this movie doesn't care about that. There's a lot of things of like, this doesn't make sense. The movie doesn't care about that. That's almost always going to be pretty much the go-to. Usually, my criticism is the plot demands it. But even in certain respects, when something happens, I think even the plot is standing next to me going, why the fuck did this just happen? When I even have the plot being like, what? And I'm like, huh? And we're just like looking at each other like, bruh. I've never had that happen before. Usually the plot demands that things happen and characters do weird things and it happens on. But things just occur and it's really fucking weird. I know that this review is almost starting off like, this doesn't make any sense. That's the gist of the movie. But we get introduced to Doug, who is the titular VelociPastor dude. Pretty much giving a sermon kind of thing. Alright, cool. Let's see. Okay, that's alright. And he's like the main actor here. And I go through this movie, and he's one of the ones that is like not that good. But I don't understand, like, the plot content that he's given is not good whatsoever. However, I get through this movie and see all the weird kind of shit he has to do, and I'm very convinced that he like lost a bet at some point, and this was like the repercussions for that. That's the only way this kind of makes sense. Like, he could, honest to God, just be kind of like not that good at acting. I can kind of accept that. Him being given crappy content, I can get that. But there's just certain things that occur in this that I'm like, they're fucking with you, bro. They fucking with you. So, he gives his sermon, walks out, sees his parents, they wave at each other, and then their car blows up. But it's not just that. He's like, no, Mom and Dad! He's like, doing that kind of acting. And it cuts over. And normally where you would see a flaming wreckage or whatnot, it says, VFX, car on fire. And I just lost my shit. We're like a minute and 30 seconds into this goddamn thing. And I'm like, okay, this could be good. That was a false positive for me. Alright? It fucking was. So, he's going crazy. Cameron decides to pan up after he's like going, no, no, no. And he's talking with Father Stewart. And they're, of course, talking about, like, God and everything like that. He's getting drunk on, like, communion wine. And one of the weirdest kind of choices that is made is that they're sitting on, like, a pew, having this talk. He's ruminating on why God would do this and what's going on. And the dude's like, dude, your parents are going to fucking die anyway, man. Reasons? But, honestly, worse than that. And then, for some reason, they're sitting on the pew. And then it pans out enough to then have, like, camera shots of them, like, face of Doug, face of Stewart, having the same conversation. So you're essentially getting the same scene shot with, like, them together, and then them apart, talking about the same things going on. It's, like, the strangest director choice of, like, you're technically doing more work than you fucking need to? Why you do this? But, of course, he then's like, hey, why don't you go travel? And then he goes to travel to China. And there's barely any work done. It's like the fucking backwoods, and the text says China. And it's like, alright. Cool. And then suddenly, we see one ninja, fucking trying to capture another white-clad ninja, and he shoots her with an arrow, and fucking hits her, and he finds her, like, oh shit, it's like, I think even the plot's like, a random dude wandering the Chinese wilderness who's a foreigner, yeah, that fucking would happen. I understand the plot demanding certain things, but when I'm even looking like, what? But he comes upon her, and she's like, take this Dragon Warrior kind of stuff, but still kind of like talks a little bit in English, but mainly in Chinese. He's like, I don't understand you. And there could have been some comedy stuff going on with that, but it's just like, oh, take this. You want me to take this? Yeah. And then she fucking dies. And then he's got this, and as he's running, he gets his hand cut by the tooth. Something about his transformation and curse. Why is this important? Because I want to get this before we kind of go around further. Later in the movie, it is somehow tried to be made clear that the whole concept of dinosaurs are essentially false, and that they were all lizard warrior people that were wiped out previously. I think. If you want to, like, pull up stuff and, like, try and correct me on that, cool. I'm fine with that. But from what I got, it's like, oh, okay. Alright. So we essentially got lizard people. And nothing really funny, or at least that I found funny, was, like, done with it. It's just, like, they're sitting like a turd, like, you could have at least done something with it. Little grip of little fucking flowers and shit to just make it a little bit more festive. I'm still not gonna fucking eat it or, like, enjoy being in the room with it, but it would have done something. But this is, like, going along with the rest of the plot that we'll get to. So he gets back. He's, like, all sick and everything. And he's like, I'm hungry. And then he turns into the VelociPastor thing. We are also introduced to a hooker, Carol, who is one of the good actresses in this film. I don't know how that occurred, but good for her. She did a good job. And this isn't like any kind of thing. She's literally one of the only ones that actually makes it convincing that she is actually a character that she cares about the character and actually puts good effort into it, and that the content for her is not complete dog shit. Granted, it's the basic kind of hooker putting herself through pre-med law shit that we learn a little bit, but that's pretty much about it. And for this, that actually is top tier? Good Jesus. So, her pimp is Frankie Mermaid. Let's see if I got that right. Frankie Mermaid, something like that. And he's doing this like, go to the park and make me money, bitch. Essentially. Granted, he at least does a good job of an over-the-top, weird-ass pimp hitman dude. There's a lot of dudes rolled into one. And he's kind of crazy, but it fits within the content of the character. So she goes off to the park and is pretty much beset upon by like a weird thug dude, which is kind of funny because he was just squatting somewhere and she's walking down, and then he's like, give me your money. It's like, I don't have the money. Be like with the pimp or whatnot. Just give me to the pimp. It's like, he's gonna fucking kill you. He's like, I don't give a shit. And it's like, you really, like, I understand calls to action and stuff like that, but at least give the character something, because there's a lot of plot object kind of shit going on here, and just a lot of people fucking around. Now granted, fucking around is all kind of cool, but when you got a budget and you actually fucking do something and put it out, it's like, oh, god damn. Ugh. So, then we see that Doug has popped up as we see the beginnings of the costume. We see it fully at the end, but it looks nothing like a Velociraptor whatsoever. Towards the end, when you get a full glimpse of this goddamn thing, it's like a hunchback T-Rex with a hole where its penis would be. Thank Jesus they didn't make a fucking penis for this thing, but I almost would not put it past it for that to have occurred. So, he kills the dude, which, by the way, is kind of weird because at first you're like, oh god, he killed that dude. And then he got up and continued to like shoot at him, and then he still kind of like fucking like attacked him. The camera work on this was like, what the fuck? The holy fuck. And Carol's okay. Doug wakes up later. He thinks that he had sex with her, but she's like, no. Like, they're having the that confusion conversation. Like, no, you turned into a fucking dinosaur or whatnot. I was like, what? No, I don't believe you. Ah! And, she wants him to, like, kill criminals and shit like that and kill the people that would kind of deserve it. And, by the way, they do, even in this film, use stock, like not stock, but they make a certain footage of him transforming into the dinosaur kind of dude, and they keep reusing it throughout, and I'm just like, okay, granted, I understand budget of $35,000, but you could at least do a little bit of other stuff. And see, the thing is, one of the parts of this when she's trying to convince him about this is he has no clothes because he's naked, and they have him walking around in a dress she has. This is part of the fact, like, this is where I start to get the idea that this dude must have lost a bet, because it just is like it barely kind of fits and everything, and it just looks uncomfortable to wear. It's like, I don't mind shit like that happening, but it's like, alright. And she shows him the dead body. He's like, no, I won't do this. And then they, like, run away. He, like, runs away. And the thing is, there comes a point where you're like, okay, they just followed him too damn long as he's trying to run and make sure that his ass doesn't pop out. Which, by the way, doesn't mean fucking much because he fights in, like, his underwear where you can pretty much see not everything, but enough as he's in tighty-whities fighting ninjas later on. But we see that it's a fucking thing. God damn it. Well, he tries to deny this part of him, but Stuart's like, hey, dude, you late for confessions. Go and do that shit. And he goes and does that shit. And it's Frankie Mermaid talking about how he killed all these people and everything, and that he killed Doug's parents. And he freaks out, goes dino claw thing, and kills him. And The thing is, this death scene's fucking ridiculous as shit. He gets like slashed on the throat and is like, ah, ah, ah. I'm like, if you got like slashed like that, you'd probably be like down and bleeding out and barely being able to make a sound because you'd be slashed on the fucking throat. But granted, this isn't about shit making sense. So he's like, yeah, let's do this. And then we get a montage of this whole shit going on. And you're just like, what the fuck? Because it's mainly date shit with Doug and Carol and just weird shit of like him kind of killing people in his hunchback T-Rex costume. And while this is going on, we also start seeing a shadowy organization with the whole kind of ninja thing of this Wei Chan dude. Because evidently they're like taking out these supplier people. And we get introduced to like his right-hand man who laughs so fucking annoying. Like, I bring up the laugh bit because I understand they were doing it as a joke. The issue comes into the effect of repetition of a joke, and if it's good. If it's good, repeating it will sometimes diminish it and sometimes bring it back. Like, you repeat it, and then you're like, I'm gonna get tired of this, and then it like pops up later at some point, and you're like, okay. South Park usually had been good with certain like joke repetitions sometimes. But then again, South Park has also beaten a fucking dead horse with a certain joke, and this one was like was dead before it was even born with how this dude laughs. It's like, nope, that's fucking annoying, and they just play it fucking so I'm like, no, fuck, geez, stop it. No. So he's looking into all this kind of stuff with dinosaurs and all that kind of shit. Father Stewart is worried about him. He comes clean to Father Stewart, and Father Stewart's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Oh, you're probably possessed, so I'm gonna like do an exorcism kind of shit. Locks him in there. We see Carol like, what? Oh, okay. And she's like, alright, I'll leave. And Father Stewart brings him to this dude, Alistair. And he's like, I haven't gotten to this dude since the war. And then we get the most random goddamn thing. Okay. We are essentially treated to a backstory of Father Stewart, which has no connection whatsoever to really what's going on. It doesn't explain why he's like a father or like a pastor or whatnot. Which, by the way, other thing about costuming, the priest, pastor, father costumes are like low tier. Granted, I understand $35,000 budget, but for the love of God, there are better ones out there that you could have probably spent money on. Now, granted, I understand you probably had to pay people to be in this, and hope they got paid enough for like something worth it, like anything. Oh, but evidently he's this mystical kind of dude trying to bring up the thing of like light with the priesthood, dark with his like mysticism shit. But we are treated to that Father Stewart was in Vietnam, which again just looks like random fucking backwoods because $35,000 and we are low tier here. But like Father Stewart barely looks any different and has like this blonde fucking wig thing going on, and he like shows a picture of his gal to this one dude. He's like, yeah, you can name one of your kids after me and everything. He got through this war smiling, and then he fucking got shot, and the way he got shot would have made no sense of how it fucking occurred whatsoever. So Father Stewart's freaking out, and then we cut over and they're like in front of this weird ass building and just looking at shit, and then randomly his sweetheart comes running through the Vietnam woods, because you would think she would have been left back home in the States, but the fuck if I know, and she gets blown up by a goddamn landmine. Again, effects I understand, but it's fucking hilarious that she's there 1 minute, the cut's horrendous, and he's just splattered with guts going like, ah! And then we see that we go back to the present where they're trying to do an exorcism, and Doug's like, I feel hungry, and fucking hand claws shit, and fucking rips out Stewart's eye, and then runs out, and then gets attacked by ninjas. He's like, I got fucking attacked by ninjas! And I'm fucking losing my mind even recounting this goddamn thing. The Alistair dude's fucking laughing like shit. He's like, I tried to do an exorcism, a dude turned into a fucking dinosaur. I fucking, jeez. Him, by the way, acted okay. Alright. And then the Wei Chan dude's alright. But he then got attacked by a ninja dude, but he kind of just got grazed, and it looked like it got fucking splurted with like somebody just come up and slapped him with a line of ketchup. Oh god, no, actually that would have made even a better effect. It just looked like they took a brush and ketchup. I know that doesn't really add much, but I have to explain what I've seen because I don't recommend seeing this. No. Could this person get better? Sure. Alright, cool. Yeah, fine. No. And I watched this on Amazon Prime, so it was included, thank God, because hey, sometimes when video stores were around, I'd fucking rent some weird ass questionably movies just to see how bad or funny they'd be, and sometimes they'd be really bad and really funny, and I'd be like, alright, this ain't good, but it's funny, and I got something out of it. This was not that one. So, him and Carol pretty much get together and have one of the strangest fucking sex scenes ever. Now, granted, you really don't see much. They pretty much stick to underclothes and all that, but it is just so drawn out and just like, alright, context-wise. I saw The Matrix Reloaded probably a little bit younger than I should have been in the theater. Alright? Now, I was pretty much watching this, they're getting all with Zion, and then Neo and Trinity's like having sex, but I was at that age where I'm like, I don't want to see this, so I pretty much was just like tuning out until that was over. I'm like, god damn, that was pretty kind of long or whatnot, and I'm like, alright, can we get to like the fucking kung fu shit? Granted, that was my brain back then. I wasn't interested in that shit. You change and you move on, but it's just like, alright, this is adding absolutely nothing for me. That is kind of the gist here. But honestly, even kind of worse, because they kind of montage format it, and for some reason, there was like a strange panel where, yeah, I'm pretty much like, this is pretty much like what I would have been doing as a kid, even though as a kid I was like looking off, I'm like, I don't fucking want to see this. Here, I was like, alright, let's kind of see what they're trying to fucking do here. There was a random shot of a soldier statue outside, and I could not for the life of me fathom what the fuck that was in there, other than that they couldn't even copy like another kind of portion of the sex training montage scene that was going on, which really wasn't add that much there. But he's like, yeah, they bang. It's like, okay, cool, alright. It was just such a weird scene. Fuck. And it's just like, hey, random soldier statue. Plot's looking at me. I'm looking at the plot. I'm like, the fuck? He's like, I don't fucking know. I ain't making this shit. And we then continue on. So, before we get to the pretty much almost naked ninja fight, we see that Father Stewart still has his glasses on and has an eye patch over the one that got ripped off. And evidently, Wei Chan, the kind of like shady boss dude, is part of a Christian organization of the St. Artemis Academy, and that his ninja people are with him and connected to the church, and that they are selling cocaine to get people addicted, and then to cut it off, and then have them join their help group and create a Christian army to take over the world. I'm dead fucking serious. And Father Stewart's like, what? No, I'm not part of that. And then fucking gets knocked off and killed by the fucking Wei Chan dude. I'm like, that. And then, of course, after we get further on, it gets to even the dinosaur lizard people. I'm like, God. plots can be crazy and insane and can stretch disbelief, okay? There can be batshit fucking insane things that work. This, I'm just like, alright, let's get this done. Because we had seen that Doug and Carol fought the ninjas. Incidentally enough, I think that Carol does the better action scenes, even though she's in the background. There's also a weird shot where she like put her knee on one of the ninjas' throats. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, it didn't, you don't know what was going on with that. It's just like, what the fuck is going on with that? And I was like, oh, she's putting his knee on the throat. And then we find out that like one of the ninja dudes was able to give the whole thing away that we had just previously watched to them. And like, yeah, I'm glad that they told us where the hideout was before they like died or like got knocked out. So of course they like gear up, go out there, fight them. Doug in his now leather jacket and Carol in like this weird fucking costume. She's got like this like fur animal jacket. Now granted, I'm wearing this dinner theater style because you don't want to do your dinner with this theater. Don't fucking do this. This is usually this is for like good and bad shit, and this is like woo. So, and she's got like this weird unitard kind of thing. And it's like, all right, fine, just fucking go for it. Then we find out annoying laughing dude is Doug's brother Sam, and that they got beef because we need a fucking brother betrayal plot twist. It's like, yeah, I'm not gonna cut you with this sword of my ancestors. And then Doug's like, fucking somehow for some fucking reason gets Jedi telekinesis powers. He's like, yeah, sword of my ancestors too, and fucking kills him. Like, well, not. He does kill him, but his death takes so fucking long that it's fucking insanity because he like stabs him, and then Witcher's like, I tried, man, and then, well, before the Wei Chan dude comes out, fucking Carol is like dealing with like the ninja dudes and like whooping ass, and then of course you have the whole action trope of like that big motherfucker pops out. Well, big motherfucker pops out and slices her like on the chest, and she's like, Doug, continue on, and like puking out blood, and it's like that doesn't make sense for that kind of like wound. Now granted, I understand trying to make sense of a kind of wound in this is a futility that should never be entertained, I guess. But it's just like, what? And then we have her death scene. I quote that because she doesn't die. Doug then goes, "Ah!" and then turns into the hunchback T-Rex dude and starts having like the dumbest fucking fight because this costume for this goddamn thing looks like it's made out of paper mache shit and couldn't like handle a fucking fart in its general direction. I was almost surprised that they didn't fucking like get one of those inflatable dinosaur ones that you see in the like on the internet all the goddamn time. That, for some reason, is better production value than what I'm seeing out of this costume. And especially because of the giant whopping fucking hole in between the legs. And he's able to pretty much start taking their asses out. But we see that the Wei Chan dude comes out and evidently has like a venom-tipped arrow that's able to stop the transformation process. And he then drops the bombshells about like the lizard warrior fucking dinosaur people. It's like, yeah, we pretty much hunted those bastards with tissue. Like, yeah, one thing you didn't count on, my hands are immune. It's like, that doesn't make any goddamn sense, but what does this fucking ever do? And rips his fucking head off, which we had seen one dude already lose his head, and I swear to God it looked like a goddamn alien head. And it looks like the same head, but it's got like the fucking eyebrows and the mustache and shit, just like, ah, and you see the blood and shit, and it's just like, what the fuck? Oh, God. And then he then takes Carol to the hospital. You find out she's okay. They decide to continue on their crusade of fighting criminals, and that Doug's got a bounty on his head. This was a waste of time. Please don't do it for you. This was just like, whew. Yes. Need some extra for this one because of how extra it is. Holy fucking shit. Yes, I make it seem like fun. But I kinda have to because of how insane and batshit crazy this goddamn thing is. And evidently they're trying to do a sequel to this. Now, I understand amateur filmmakers. And I understand you gotta work out some shit. But there's some stuff that goes on in here. I'm like, you gotta work on even the basics of the camera stuff, directing your actors, content for your actors, because there's only so much an actor can do. And I would like to set up this movie to show that, because it's like, oof. And it did something completely crazy for me with my whole thing with the plot, because I swear to God, even just relaying this, the plot is next to me being like, I don't even know why this is happening. Like, even the plot is somewhat traumatized of like, I understand trying to do all these kind of weird things. It almost comes across as like, you know when you're a kid and you take your toys and you try and do like some stories out with like your action figures and all that? Yeah, I've done that too. I feel that this is like the combination of a lot of different ones that just got mushed together and nobody questioned why it occurred. And you're just left to look at the end product of like this like Cronenberg thing, and you're just like, why, God? Why? There's better uses of your time. You can look up reviews for it, and you can look at a trailer for it, but I would not recommend watching this because, yes, you could potentially get a laugh out of it like after the fact, after a couple days of marinating in what you've just seen. But you're not going to have that funny haha kind of moment when you're watching it, because you're just going to be like cringing like a motherfucker and be like, is this happening? Is this real life? Oh. Fuck. So, there we have it with this one. Those are my opinions on the movie. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also, like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.